Oh, and here we are. We are live. Welcome, everyone. Phil is AWOL. We don't know where Phil is, but I'm happy to welcome you to another Friday Night Live. I'm joined, as always, by Ed Stark of West End Games and TSR fame, and, of course, Jennifer Cash from the Blind Bard YouTube channel. How are you fine people this evening?
I'm wonderful. It's a Friday and
sitting through a tornado watch here in Maryland.
You should be okay. You know, if you need to hunker down, just let us know and we'll.
I will. It seems like it's just raining right now. We haven't even gotten any thunder or lightning that I've seen. So.
Well, you don't want any thunder or lightning. You want to make sure that doesn't occur. So.
They're very, very frightening.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice week next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
So we're joined tonight by the legendary artist and game designer Jeff Dee, and my first dungeon master, Leland Stanford. You know, I can't say enough, you know, about Jeff, and we're going to bring him on now, but he's been working on a secret project that he's going to show off when we bring him online here. But he's in the green room, and apparently he's found the snack bar back there, so we're going to bring him in just a moment. And there he is, Jeff Dee.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Jennifer. Ron. Good day to you, sir.
Yes. A lot of rain here. I don't suppose there's any rain down in the southwestern part of the U.S. where you're at right now.
Oh, goodness sakes. We had hail the other night.
Did you?
Boy. Yeah. It's been crazy. Today, beautiful. You know, two days ago, horrifying. So that's Texas weather for you.
Yep. Whereabouts in Texas do you live?
I'm in the suburbs of Austin.
Oh, okay. So I lived in Steiner Ranch for a little while.
Oh, yeah. So it's kind of smack dab in the middle.
Mm-hmm. My cats came to say hi.
Hello, cats.
They're big fans of this.
Aha. Ah.
That was other than D&D. That was the first time I encountered your work, and I really loved it. Obviously, this thing has moved across the country, you know, many, many times.
Oh. Well.
So Jeff, we appreciate you coming on the program, and you know, I don't think I've ever actually articulated this to you, but you know, we're extremely appreciative at Page that you came out our first year, and you know, first year conventions, that's a real crapshoot. I know that. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if there's going to be 40 people there. You know, you have no idea what you're getting into, but really appreciate the faith you had to come out to Philadelphia and you know, be there for the you know, the first time we ran. And of course you were out last year, and you had your partner Manda with you, which was wonderful. She's a delight. And you know, talk to us a little bit about what your experience has been at the first couple of pages.
Oh my. So thanks, Ron. And thank you, man, for inviting me. I'll oh, this is going to sound terrible. I'll go to any convention where they pay my way. So that's but Paige has been fabulous. It's great people. It's a huge site. Lots of fun stuff going on. I've got no complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, and of course, Jeff is joking about us paying his way to the convention, folks. So before any other artists start reaching out to me, going, "Hey, what was he talking about?" He's being funny. He's being funny.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, and as long as I remain welcome, I'll keep coming.
Well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes after this program, since you're spreading gossip and rumors. But
I'm so sorry.
One of the great things I think from having you at the last two shows is this year with our expanded space, we're actually going to have a much larger artist space. So we've got a bunch more artists who are going to be there, and I think the fact that you've been there the last couple of years has really helped. Spread the word to people that they should show up and show their art.
They should show up.
And I've got great news for you. You were not across from the bathroom this year in the vendor's room.
Yes, thank you. That question of, where's the best place for your booth to be it's always a nightmare, no matter where you go. And there's always good things and bad things about any location. We'll try this new spot this year, and I hope that works out good.
I think you're in a good spot, because we've doubled the size of our vendor area.
Last year with the cobwebs and the tumbleweeds and nobody visiting me, that was awful.
Lies.
Well, in my estimation, the bathroom is a perfect spot because everyone has to use the bathroom at some point, and they're bound to see your booth.
And we were across from the food vendors. It's true. It's just
that also helps.
I had to share people's attention with the smell of hot dogs. So,
while they're getting their dog,
that's difficult for some people to decide what's more important.
Well, let's be honest. The smell of hot dogs is an attractant for many a gamer to go to an area.
Yeah.
But no, for me, it's the chili.
So
maybe the cheesesteaks.
I was going to say many gamers actually smell like boiled hot dogs.
Oh, don't bring that up. That's every convention. That's not just Paige.
Yeah. So
at our age, not being very far from the bathroom is probably a good thing. One of the things I think is funny is the art that's on the back wall here. My wife made friends with one of the artists at a show we were down at in Florida. I was a guest there, and while she was just hanging out, she would watch the artist's booth while she would go off to go to the bathroom or do seminars. And at the end of the show, she gave us this piece right here. And then we started collecting all of them. I've got this and a bunch of other things. But
Jeff's been called to the carpet by Troy Allman of Cannibal Publishing, saying, "You always seem to have people at your table every time I pass by, Jeff."
We're shooting the shit here, buddy. So
and then you got
of course it's been great.
You got Chet Minton. I liked being close to the bathroom. I did really well. So
I chat.
So Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit that you're working on with Uni Games and Monkey House Games right now?
Oh my! So the big project on design wise on my desk right now is Tales of the Unseen, which is the Monsters source book for Villains Vigilantes 3rd edition, aka Mighty Protectors. If you've ever seen the Clive Barker movie Nightbreed, that's kind of the inspiration. It's half that and it's half X-Men. It's you play monsters who are the good guys. They are an oppressed minority living in the shadows, trying to protect the world from the bad monsters, kind of the way the X-Men protect the world from the Legion of Evil Mutants, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
I
Marvel.
remember that. We wanted to buy one at page 2 and you were out of them.
Of Mighty Protectors, yeah.
Yes.
It's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad planning on your part, Jeff.
Yeah. We can be almost immediately ran out of Cave Masters. So that's the project right now at Monkey House. Something we still owe people from our Kickstarter some years ago. So that's pretty important. But lots of play testing of that going on over here. At Unigames, we have nothing currently announced in the works.
So you mentioned Cave Master. I own I think everything you produced for Cave Master, but why don't you take our viewers through a little bit about Cave Master, because some people look at it and they're like, oh, it's caveman role playing, but they don't realize the level of sophistication that you put into it, between different sorts of societies and things like that. Can you tell that tale a little bit?
So the original impulse behind what became Cave Master is my concerns about the industry, the hobby becoming focused more and more on bigger and bigger, glossier, more colorful books and special dice and special cards and all these things publishers feel that they need to design into their product in order to make lots and lots of money. And I wanted to make something that needed as few additional things as you could possibly require. And that became picking up rocks off the ground for use as your randomizer. And that became, well, it's a caveman game because cavemen would have come up with something like this. You literally, your character skin is a sheet of paper. You draw an animal skin outline on it, and some circles with pictograms in them indicate what your character's abilities are. And you put the rocks in those circles, and the more rocks you have in a circle, the better you are at that thing. And the mechanic is you pick up stones, secretly split them between your two hands, as does your opponent or the cave master. And you each reveal one hand. And if you got more stones, then you succeeded, right? And you now know most of the rules of Cave Master. But what you were asking about, Ron, is all the depth and the detail and the prehistorical accuracy of the thing. And that's all thanks to my partner, Amanda, who did all the research into Pleistocene animals and materials technology and things we can surmise about how prehistoric people lived and all that stuff. That's all her. I was the system guy.
Yeah, I mean that to me, I mean, you and I share our love for Time Team and watching archaeological digs and those sorts of, digging for Britain and things like that. And, so that to me was like the hook, about, hey, this is really, there was a lot of work put into this. It wasn't just Captain Caveman, go raid the next cave and beat the people over the head and drag the women back by their hair. It was a lot more sophisticated than that.
Yeah, we didn't think the world needed another like comedic caveman RPG from us.
Yeah.
And having decided that it would be Pleistocene era, we also, I mean, there's some optional rules in there. If you want a system for spirit magic where that's real and you can call upon the nature spirits to do magical things for you, it's in there. but those are extras we put in, and it's at its core, it's a serious, like, historical RPG.
Awesome. Now, Phil is joining us now. I'm going to bring him onto the program. Phil's camera's not on for some reason, though. There it is. Did you fall asleep, Phil?
I did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I laid down for a quick nap, and stupidly, I thought I was going to do what my 14-year-old daughter does and not set an alarm and then be late for things like I was. So, lesson learned.
Yeah. So, welcome to the show. We've got Jeff on, and Jeff, I've had you working on a little secret project.
Yeah, it's a portrait of Phil.
It was a portrait of Phil.
Not that Phil. This Phil.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
get back from the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got a chance to do Phil E. cheesesteak,
which I think's it looks awesome. You know, there will be some lettering on the scroll work at the top.
Yeah, I'm doing that digitally because I am not a calligrapher, and I'm just terrified of ruining the thing by messing up the lettering. So
yeah. So, Jeff, we're going to keep you on the program, but we're going to also we always have two guests, and we're going to welcome in our next guest, who's near and dear to me, and on a program last year where I was giving an interview about Paige, there was this maniac in the chat who kept posting, I was his first DM, and the host said, you know, there's somebody who says they're your first DM in the chat, and I said, what, Lee Stanford? What are you talking about? And then Lee ran into Phil out at GaryCon, and he's going to be coming to Page this year, and we're gonna bring him on. And there he is, Lee Stanford, my first Dungeon Master. Very exciting.
Very excited to be here.
Yeah.
I had to when I it's funny, I can't remember. I think I'm not on Facebook very often, but we are connected on Facebook, Ron and I.
Right.
And I think I logged in at some point, and my brother, who was a really good friend of yours when we were kids, told me you were starting some gaming stuff, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I just so happened to be tuning in because I'm a follower of the DM Tales YouTube channel, and I think he just joined us. But matter of fact,
he did. Wes did just
yes.
join us. Yeah.
So, and then I saw he had a preview for his next show, which was going to be with you, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's crazy!" So then I had to show up and make my presence known. So
you got to tell us all about Ron's first character and why it was a Conan clone.
Well, it was probably a Conan clone because I was in junior high, and Ron, I think you're like 2 or 3 years younger than me. I forget. Like, what year were you born? I was born in 67. So.
Yeah, so three years younger,
okay. And my brother's 4 years younger than me. So I was the dungeon master for all the younger kids in the neighborhood. So there's like at least 4 kids. I was
all 4 of the kids, in a 6-mile radius.
Yes, exactly. And at the time, I was way into Conan and Elric and all that. And I had the original, I think it was the original, it was either Eldritch Wizardry or Deities and Demigods that had the stats for Conan and the stats for Elric and all that. So I would just bring them into the campaign randomly, and they would wreak havoc. And, so you pretty much had to be a Conan type to keep up with them all.
Well, we played.
I was only 14, 13.
Yeah.
So
we did it. We did a couple of things. First, Lee handed out characters, and we were playing AD&D, and Lee handed out characters that he had pre-made, and I had a fighter named Lecty Vance.
Yeah,
and he was a pretty good character, a high strength, high dex, and His brother was an ill-fated monk who often died, named Bjorn Nichor. And then the two brothers from down the street were Balinor and Dalinor, the priests. And, we went from playing low-level characters, and we would go out, quote, a mugging, quote unquote, in the village of Hamlet until the Byrne and Elmo, made us stop our terrible ways, and we made our way to the Moat House. But later on, we ended up playing some high-level characters where somebody was Conan.
Yes.
I was, I believe, Dorthor, the Dwarven Paladin that appeared in Giants of the Earth at some point in Dragon Magazine. And
I remember Giants of the Earth.
And one
you
of
guys
the
are all so young.
Yeah, one of the other players was Moonglum, and there was a lot of dying in that game. As well, but I was pretty much immediately hooked, and next thing you know, I was like the go-to guy in my middle school or grammar school, whatever it was. That every D&D was exploding everywhere, and everybody wanted to play, and off we went.
Yep. So I have a couple relics from back in that day. So this is my original D20 from the Holmes box set, which it's pretty small on screen, but it basically rolls forever now because it's almost round, and you can still see a little bit of the crayon marks and stuff where I painted half of it, so you could do that.
You paint well. Didn't you paint the 11 through 20 red?
Yes.
Yeah, that side of the die was red. Yeah.
Yep. And then I also have my original player's handbook here, which is Seen Better Days. So I still have a few relics from back then.
We were playing. We were really roughing it. We were all using the same set of dice at that time.
Yeah. We used Fisher Price people for the miniatures and stuff. So yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. So
my first set of dice was a collection of Dixie cups with little counters in it. I had the basic set that didn't have the dice. Nice. Fortunately, a friend of mine did have dice, so I never actually had to play with the little counters. But I cut them out. I was all ready to go. You were mentioning Village of Hamlet and everything. Did you guys primarily play published adventures, or did you do a lot of homebrew, or was it a mix? How did that go?
If I remember correctly, it was I owned a lot of the old original TSR adventures, and we definitely did some Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. We did Village of Hamlet. I had the Drow ones, which I don't know if we got to because we were all young enough that campaigns didn't last very long. But we had enough rainy weekends that we got through a bunch of stuff. But it was mostly published stuff. I don't remember creating anything. So
I think with the low level characters at one point, we would walk outside of Hamlet, and there was basically a dungeon that was there, and the first floor of it was above the ground, so it was like this big stone structure, and you'd go in, and you might have been using dungeon geomorphs and some random stuff, and we would just wander around the dungeon, just being murder hobos generally. Listen, we were like 9 and 10 years old, some of us, so it was if it moves, kill it. Maybe it has treasure. We would do things like we had a priest. I think one of the priests wasn't good, and we would turn undead, and then we'd bring the undead with us back to the town, and just like, they'll just hang outside the Inn of the Welcome Wench and wait for us when we're done, stuff like that. Just stuff that kids would do. That if we did it today, the town watch would be hanging you in the square for. But we had a lot of fun with it, and like I said, I pretty much amazingly like hooked right away. Now Lee, a lot of these adventures that we're talking about had illustrations and artwork by our other guest, Jeff Dee. I don't know how familiar you are with his work and some of the adventures that he provided artwork for.
All I know is that if all of the different artwork in those days, I mean, that probably was more got me into the game than the writing, that's for sure. So yeah, it's a very important part of my my formative years for sure. So yeah, absolutely.
Now, Jeff, Lee mentioned deities and demigods, and I think you pulled some of the stuff, Lee, back from Gods, Demigods, and Heroes, the little pamphlet size book. But Jeff, you did bunches of interior artwork in Deities and Demigods, did you not?
Yeah, I was on staff from about that time. I don't have anything in the original Player's Handbook or a GM's Guide. But I did the Egyptian section and the Norse section and the Melnibonean section that got stripped out of later editions, and oh gosh, some Chinese
I think
stuff.
You did Nuon too, didn't you?
I mean, all of us did like an additional piece here and there, so everybody could have their hand in everything. But I don't think that was one of my main. I think that was Jaquays.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Jeff, I mean, in terms of, some of the iconic work you did, obviously you did the cover of Slave Pits of the Undercity, which, Lee, that's an adventure you ran. Aspis Drones is kicking our ass all over the place. But, Jeff did the cover art for that. You did the rear art on the later printing of Vault of the Drow. But when we talk about your black and white art, is it Odin standing on the bridge? Would you say that's amongst some of your most iconic art there from Deities and Demigods?
I don't know. It's not for me to say. Different people like different pieces that I've done, but that sounds familiar.
A couple of things that I remember a lot was so I had the pleasure of getting to work with Lawrence Schick for quite some time. And of course, Lawrence's first adventure that he published with TSR was White Plume Mountain, which I believe you did a bunch of that artwork.
Did the cover of that too, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of Elric, the filed off the serial numbers version of Elric, Lawrence has a lot of
that. I think if it's what I'm thinking of, that was Bill Willingham did that one.
That was Bill. Okay,
yeah.
Right. With about that.
Oh, that was the Now I'm confused. So he did a guy with a black sword with some
black razor.
That was Bill Willingham.
Okay,
but you did
another one of us comics inspired guys.
Yeah, you did the Rogues Gallery stuff though, right?
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the big iconic things for my gaming group, because it was the thing that told us it was okay to break the rules, because there were all these rules about how you got resurrected and reincarnated and all this other stuff, and then you saw all these characters that were created by Gary and Ernie and their friends, and you had a guy playing a lizard man and a guy playing a centaur and things. You're like, wait a minute.
I remember being told that the lizard man was because of a reincarnation.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But is our lizard men not on the normal list of what you could get reincarnated into?
No, they're what you can be reincarnated to, but there were a lot of rules about like, if you get reincarnated as something that's not appropriate, then you should become an NPC and all this stuff. And and there it really sort of opened things up, and I thought the art was a big selling point for that, because all those characters looked really cool. They had you had the thief with or the assassin with the two blades and everything, and two weapon combat was something that normally was only Rangers in first edition and things like that. So I just thought it was so evocative that it made us want to try different things.
Yeah, and I so wanted a miniature crossbred wombat Umber Hulk as a familiar after seeing Erak's cousin had one. So yeah, now not to shortchange Jeff with S2, but in the second printing, the orange cover printing of that, Jeff did do the cover art for that. So with I believe it's a
with
Manticore.
the Manticore. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
It's been a long time, guys. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I remember everything exactly right. That's right.
The
Manticore.
Jeff, in season 4, episode 22, at the 12-minute mark.
It's just a TV show, okay? There's no goddamn ship.
So,
Okay,
but
I wanna throw out a comment though. I'm sure there's stuff in all those products where the guys in the design department just did things they thought were worth doing for whatever reason, right? We were not reviewing, us artists were not reviewing the assignments we were given for mechanical accuracy, but we all were players, just about. I don't think Roslov played much at all, but practically everybody else was a player. And we put our own inspirations from things we played, games of D&D we played, in everything we did.
I mean, just speaking from my standpoint as a player and DM back then, I think the artwork kind of guided how one felt like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to play, because you'd look at the artwork and it would just be like, oh, that's the game right there. So yeah, it was while you guys were talking, I have PDFs of most of these old things, and I've been looking up, Jeff, some of your stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I have vivid memories of these now. So yeah, it's very cool.
I remember a piece I did of the party is back at an inn, and the fighter is holding their thief upside down and shaking him for all of the stuff that he stole from the party to fall out. I do recommend that every party adopt that practice. Never trust your thief.
I just threw up one of the classic Jeff Dee images from the Rogues Gallery, one of the ones I was talking about. I don't know if you guys saw that on the screen.
Oh yeah.
The what was that? Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit. Phil, we're glad that you were able to come and join us. Lee, you're coming to page 3.
Yes, I'm very excited about it.
Well, we'll pretty soon we'll be opening up the event tickets for gold badge holders. We'll be opening that up on July 1st, and you'll be able to jump in there. And I highly recommend getting into one of Jeff's games that he's running. Real joy to watch. And for me, I had to sit in and run a DM's game who decided he wasn't going to show up for his time slot, and I was pretty grumpy about it at page 1 that I was having to do that. But yeah, everything changed because Jeff came over to the table, sat down, and said, "Hey, can I play?"
No, I'm just curious, Jeff. Are you going to be running your superhero game at page 3?
Oh gosh, Ron, have I submitted my events like a good boy? I just found out the other day that I had utterly failed to submit my events to this convention that's next week, North Texas RPG Con, and they had to bend over backward to get my events in. Did I send mine to you?
Listen, I'm way out of I'm always way out ahead of everything. We have everything from you. We do. Yep. So you're good to go. We have everything from Manda.
Am I running V&V?
Yes.
Probably good. Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
you are.
I've got Terrors of the Lost Valley.
Yeah, that's
a
Cave
panel
Master.
on traditional RPG design, and Intercrime: Hostile Takeover.
Oh yeah, that one.
Game.
Okay. Great. I might be getting in touch with you, Ron, to put in another one, because I kind of got something else I want to run as well.
That must be. And when we talk, now that you put it out there on the air, we're going to hold you to that. Real quick question from the chat. Is Lee going to be running any games or imparting any of his experience upon us at Page?
I have. So, Ron, when you invited me to the show, I did commit to running a session, and I'm trying to decide what I want to run. And AD&D would be the most appropriate, but that's also probably the one I have least experience with over the years. Because like I was, play with you guys, then I got out of the hobby for a long time, and I got back into it with 3rd edition, and then 4th and 5th, and now I'm like super into it, and I'm like expanding out to all these other systems. But AD&D I haven't run in ages, so I may run Swords and Wizardry, which is
fine.
At least in the same thing.
Somebody who's run a lot of games at a lot of different conventions, I would say run what you have fun playing.
Yeah.
Don't bend over backwards and try and run something, that you're not comfortable with.
Right. Yeah. So my goal is to play something run something relatively old school, and try and bring back some maybe not most of my 13-year-old techniques, but try to bring some spirit of the old days back into the session. So yeah.
Will there be any musical montages of invulnerable goblins attacking to the music of Who's Next at any point during the?
It's funny, you have way more memory of these games than I do, which is appropriate, I suppose. But maybe I can work it in. It's like now that you've given me all the names of the old characters, they will have to somehow play a part as an NPC or something, I'm sure. But yes.
So Lee, I'm just curious, what's your favorite Ron moment from your past
moment? Oh boy. Gosh, I mean, so Ron grew up like 2 houses behind my house. So it was me and my brother, and then Ron was 2 houses away, and then like 4 houses down the street were our other 2 friends. And I mean, we have lots of memories of all sorts of hijinks in the neighborhood. Like role playing memories, Ron is probably going to be better than I am of remembering, and he's already mentioned a lot of big highlights. But I think one of my general, if I want it, it's not embarrassing, I guess. One vivid memory I have is one summer there was a gigantic hornet's nest on a telephone pole, like between our houses, and we spent the entire summer throwing rocks at this hornet's nest, and we never could hit it. And then one day, I can't remember who it was, somebody hit it, and the hornet all came out.
It was you. It was underneath the transformer canister, and it was the entire size of the bottom of the transformer.
And we hit that nest, and we've never seen kids run so fast. We probably
listen. Like the whole nest ended up coming down, but we didn't have a lot to do where we lived. It was in the middle of the woods, and there was an old chicken coop that was converted into storage for building materials between our houses. Okay. And when we would do battle with other invaders in the neighborhood, we would call them, we would take some of these building materials and build like these forts in the middle of the woods. But amongst the building materials were tiles, where it was like ceramic tile. And like, we were like seriously bad kids. We were throwing ceramic tile that would hum as it went through the air. And it would,
it was a lot.
it would make people bleed. There's a lot of bleeding when we were kids.
All those games ended when somebody started to bleed from their head and cried, and that was the end of the day.
Well, I'll tell you a non-gaming story about Lee, and then I'm going to jump over to Jeff for something. But we talk about those days, and I remember there were some bad kids from a few blocks, and in our area, a block was like a quarter mile away, right? And there were some bad kids that would come over, and they were a little bit older than me and Lee's brother, and like kind of in Lee's age range, and they would come over, and they would like a little group of them got together, and they used to throw rocks at us, and we would throw rocks at them, and this and that. And one time Lee got hit in the head with a rock, and he was bleeding, and he marched back to his house, and we're literally getting killed by these kids with these rocks. Like, there were more of them than us. And, like 20 minutes later, Lee comes sprinting down the road, like bandaged up, and just starts pummeling these kids with rocks and tiles and everything else. Like, he had been bandaged up. And that's probably one of my most vivid memories of us when we were kids, because we were all like, I'll be honest, Lee was kind of the older brother of our friend, and he would get a little moody sometimes, and like stuff would happen, like we'd play football, and like he'd be picking us up and dropping us on our heads and things like that. But that was the first time that, like, I was like, yeah, Lee's awesome, because Lee came charging down the street to save us from these older kids, and that was pretty good times there.
To roll this back to Jeff, it almost sounds that story sounds like a live action Cave Master session, basically. So
sounds like my childhood, because I grew up in the boonies, and we were always making forts and playing pretend, and
this was
doing all that stuff
way before internet, and even way before video games. Really, it's like, I don't even think we had like an Atari 2600 yet at that point. So
you had Odyssey. You had Odyssey.
Yeah.
But and Lee, just to refresh your memory, you hit that wasp's nest with a roundy.
Okay.
You remember what a roundy was? It was those octagon shaped tiles. But hey, Jeff, I wanted to jump over to you while we were, commiserating about the older products. And could you hold the artwork up again, close to the camera?
Well, close to the camera, you won't see anything. I gotta come back here for people to enjoy it. How's that?
All right. For those of you, I'm gonna try to make Jeff big. I don't know how to do that. Maximize Jeff. There we go. All right. So, does anybody recognize the adventurers in this photo? And for the person who can tell us where they may have seen these three adventurers in the past, we're going to give away a $25 credit to Frog God Games' website.
Oh, I can do that.
Does anybody in the chat know who those adventurers
I assume
are?
we're not allowed to guess, huh?
No, you're barred. Is that Sheila? No, that is not Sheila. Wes Allen has failed his proficiency check in D&D ancient lore. Anybody else have a guess here?
Jeff, you can put your arms down. It's okay.
Well,
yeah, I don't want to make you hold up your arms.
Can I give a hint?
Much. It depends on how much of a hint you're going to give.
How you can decide that. So now you still got me.
Go ahead.
You still got me maximized on the screen. I think you need to. There we go.
Yeah.
They originally appeared in black and white and light blue.
And
that really should be good.
We have not yet mentioned the
Right.
product. However, I can tell you that it often went along with the dungeon geomorphs, and I believe our friend Leland here was leaning heavily on that product for content in the bizarre dungeon that was just in the middle of the forest that
It's funny
popped
because
up.
when I was grabbing my Villains and Vigilantes set to hold up and show off, I actually picked that up because it's sitting right beside it.
Well, why don't you go ahead and do us a favor? Why don't you grab that, because it seems like nobody in the audience is fast enough to. They're probably all trying to Google it, trying to figure it out. Why don't you hold up that product?
It's in my library.
I thought you did. I just picked
when
it
I
up.
grabbed
what happened?
I grabbed the thing out of my library, which is kind of a mess right now. But I'll be right back. Hopefully, somebody will guess by then.
Okay. All right. So once he brings that back, we'll hold the two images up next to each other and see how accurate Jeff was to recreating early 1980s Jeff Dee illustrations.
45 years later or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, listen, you see how vivid my memories are when from being like 10 and 11 and playing with Lee. I mean, you started at TSR when you were like 12.
Nearly. I did want to mention, you
Yeah.
guys are all talking about, being crazy kids in your D&D days. I was not much older than that. I had gone to the Joe Kubert School of Cartoon and Graphic Arts in New Jersey, thinking I was going to become a comic book artist, only to discover I'm really not fast enough. So wound up in illustration, and grew up in a little town just across the border south of Lake Geneva, and used to go up to the Dungeon Hobby Shop in its early days, right? During the time when I was home from art school. But I graduated high school a year early in order to go to the Kubert School. Kubert School was a 3-year course, and I left after 2. So I was like 19 when I started full time at TSR.
Wow.
So young. Not much out of my rock throwing days.
Yeah. What was the what town was that school in,
Dover,
Jeff? Do you remember?
Dover, New Jersey.
Oh, that's way up north. Yeah. Yeah, that's way up north. So, and did they have a dormitory for you? How'd that work?
There were several different places that they had rented. There were basically houses around town, and I was in one with a couple of other guys that you probably wouldn't know their names, but like comic book artist Rick Veitch had gone there like a year. He had graduated the year before I got there. But yeah, it was pretty makeshift, the whole thing, I have to say.
Well, I must have.
All right,
I must have buried it somewhere. I couldn't find it. I found basically everything but some of your hints.
There's the geomorphs.
Yeah, that's purple and that's red, so it's not that.
Nope. And then of course this. But yeah, I don't know. I must have.
Yeah, that's the blue, but that's not the book.
Not this one,
nope.
right?
Nope. No, it's not that.
Red.
No.
Nobody got it while I was gone.
Can I give another hint?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes,
Magneto.
Yeah.
I won't explain what that means, but it's relevant.
All I can think of is
That's
X-Men.
right. That's Magneto from the X-Men. I did indeed drop his name as a hint.
Any other guesses from the crowd?
Nobody's
Otherwise, our friends from Frog God Games are going to save $25 this week.
I don't get the $25. No, I guess I'm already going to Page, so I don't need it.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me see if we can.
No, Ronan's trying.
Ronan's trying. He's looking through his collection.
So, Jeff, are you going to be running your superhero game?
Right.
Page
So,
3?
yes, I'm going to be running the Intercrime adventure, published as Intercrime. There's a subtitle to it. Yeah, gonna. You want to play? You signed up?
Yes.
Sign up.
Not yet, but I will.
The other thing that got mentioned was a Cave Master event, and what I want to add, Ron, is a Tales of the Unseen game, which is the 3rd edition V&V rules, but your monsters. I'm about to run one of those at a convention next week, which is literally you're going to be playing characters from the movie Nightbreed, playing through some fights from that film. But what I want to run at Page is more of a D&D world, a medieval fantasy world, but your monsters coming up out of the dungeons and wreaking vengeance upon the awful humans that come down to hurt you, stealing an idea directly from Monsters, if you remember that Tunnels and Trolls related RPG.
That sounds amazing.
Does sound cool.
How would you like it if every couple of weeks a band of hardy adventurers came down and killed everybody in sight and took all their stuff? It's not cool.
All right. I think I'm going to let everybody. Jeff, go ahead and hold up that artwork again.
This is the real star of the show.
All right. You see the player characters there. Or the party there, and then here, they are from the back of the Monster Treasure. The combined version of the Monster Treasure.
Thief who you must never trust.
So we're gonna stop sharing this. There we go.
Am I done? Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's those 3 guys. I thought that it would be neat. Ron asked me to do a Philly cheesesteak picture, and I thought it would be nice to. You want people reacting to it. It is Philly an it. I guess we can. I don't know what pronouns are.
Since there's been a push for Phil to have a mate or a girlfriend, right. I guess we're going to say Phil's male, but I guess he can be whatever he wants to be.
Tongue,
or she,
could be.
Yeah, exactly. This is a PG-13 show, Jeff.
Some characters reacting to Phil that people might recognize, so I picked those guys.
So, well, I was tickled because I like to believe I'm a student of the early products and artwork. So I was excited when Jeff proposed the idea, and looking forward to utilizing that for that artwork for Page for some time to come, and just really excited to have things like that, and in our artwork collection.
We've been getting some nice
for the convention.
We've been getting some nice variants on Phil, and this is a time to mention that if you're interested in that sort of thing, you should definitely jump into the Page Facebook group and the Discord channel, because Ron publishes when people send him that artwork, he tends to post it in those locations, and also we have.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, we've received quite a bit of fan art recently, and some of it well beyond fan art. and I'm always excited to have that stuff. I mean, when we kind of first started this convention, we were lucky. We stumbled across a comic book artist who did the original iterations of Phil, and it's been able to, Phil's been a very good mascot, and he's very recognizable to fans of the convention, and he's really been the mascot we hoped he would. And in fact, this year at Page we have Phil E. cheesesteak pins. Ooh. So
nice.
That should be fun for all the pinheads out there who like to collect pins. And
I still have my mini.
Yeah, we have Philly cheesesteak miniatures, and of course he's on our T-shirts and all that good stuff. So he's probably the most recognizable thing about the convention that we have, even beyond our branding logo that we have on the upper right of the screen.
Next
here.
to we need hats.
You keep asking about hats.
And mugs. We need mugs.
And we need mugs.
We need mugs.
We do.
Yeah.
We know someone who would do them.
Everyone loves coffee.
I don't drink coffee. I don't understand the fascination. I mean, we do have dice. We do have dice. We do have Page branded dice.
That's true. Yep.
Hey, speaking of Page, though, especially since we're almost at 10:30, usually every week we announce another one of our special guests. Ron, do we have somebody we want to announce?
Well, let's finish up with Jeff and Lee, and then we'll get into the rest of the program there. But yeah, we're gonna announce somebody. Little known fact: Ed turns into a pumpkin at 11
Pretty
o'clock.
much, yeah.
And it's feeding time for his cats, and they start getting rammy, and they abuse Ed. But Jeff and and Lee, thank you for joining us tonight. Jeff, you have anything you want to leave us with before we let you go?
I don't know. Play my games. Play my games. I'm an artist and a game designer.
I have a question before we let you go.
Is it about one of my games?
So it's about the name of your studio.
Yeah. Which one?
Really interesting. How did you Monkey House? How did you come up with that name? It's so interesting.
This is because back in the day, Jack Herman and he's my best friend from high school and co-creator of Villains and Vigilantes. We would go to conventions, and for some reason we came up with the idea. We were Jeff Dee and Jack Herman, game designers raised by apes. That was amusing to us. So years later, when we needed to start our own company, we looked around at things we could get trademarks of that referenced that to amuse ourselves, and so we wound up with Monkey House. Jack and
awesome name.
Jack and I are the monkeys.
Love it.
All right. Jeff, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time. We know your time's valuable, and we appreciate you jumping on with us.
My pleasure. I'll be back. Come back anytime you want me.
Oh well, you know what? We'll use you like Johnny Carson used to use Joan Rivers. You'll be the fill-in.
No, I'm not going to host guest, for you, though, okay?
All right, then you'll be the Charles Nelson Riley
that sounds more like
the guest.
Maybe anytime Phil is asleep, we can call up Jeff and have him.
Do that.
All right. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty bad. All right, Jeff, we're going to let you go.
Alrighty,
thank you very much,
everyone. Nice talking to you.
Bye. Nice to see you.
Did anybody have any questions for Lee before we let him go? Lee likes his sleep. I remember that very much too.
Lee, I
Yes.
have one question. So we asked a little bit about, Ron related stories and early characters and what games you played. Did you have a particular NPC, or it doesn't have to be a villain, but could be a villain, somebody who just was iconic for whatever reason? Doesn't have to be a good reason.
Yeah.
I had some really silly ones you just caught on that my players loved seeing over and over again. Did you have anybody like that?
To be honest, the only one I can remember from the old days with Ron is just I would bring in Elric straight from the Gods, Demigods, and Heroes, and he would always love to use Stormbringer on probably anything that was nearby, and I do remember Ron and the rest of them like just be like, oh man, it's Elric again, and Elric would just come in and ruin everybody's day. But that's like Ron, I don't know if you remember any NPCs, but
I do remember one that you used quite often in our low level game. You nicknamed him Blackie, but I believe the NPC's name was Alanon.
Yes.
That he used to go around with he was very mysterious. He had a black cloak. He would show up when we were in trouble and save us, and then disappear as long as, as soon as he arrived, he would disappear, and we knew very little about him. But Alanon was definitely a recurring NPC.
He was named after our first dog. We got, my brother and I got when we were really, really young. It was an all black puppy, and we named him Blackie because he was an all black puppy. And we only had him for about a year before he was hit by a car. That's probably where I came up with the nickname for. It was a little in honor of our first dog.
Yeah. Well, that was so often the case there. I mean, where we grew up, there was a 2-lane highway that ran through the center of the woods, and there were all these little streets that kind of came off, and there weren't many houses at the time. Now it's a little more populated, but the amount of like dead people's pets on the shoulder of that road that would pile up over the years, like everybody had multiple cats, like outdoor cats.
We did grow up in a pretty rural area. One other NPC story, just to answer your question, more modern. So I run a current game. I have a current game group that I've been running with for like 12 straight years now. And we've been, ever since the pandemic, we play remotely. And at one point the party got picked up by a cab driver, and they're like, what's the cab driver's name? And I was completely unprepared. And on my desk, I had one of the tape rulers, Stanley, whatever you call them, the rulers that extend out. So I was like, his name's Stanley Ruley. And the party found it so hilarious that Stanley Ruley now appears in every game that we've ever played for the last 4 years. So that is
and that brings up another NPC based on that story.
Who would that be?
There was a dwarf that used to adventure with the higher level guys, like the famous people, and he was named after a pencil. The Fabulous Faber. You remember the Fabulous Faber?
I don't remember him either. It's like,
that was your NPC. It was a dwarf, and
so
apparently
my
Faber.
Technique of grabbing names from objects on my desk started early.
Oh, we've done that. we were playing Star Trek one time, and we were like, okay, what's the name of our ship? The USS Parchment.
There you go. Yep.
But all right, does anybody have any last questions for Lee before we let him go?
No, he answered mine really well.
Yeah, just wanted to say I'm super looking forward to Paige. I am like, I love the more regional cons I started off, I've been going to Gen Con and the big giant cons for many, many years. And I'm like, you know what? These regional cons are where it's at. So I'm super looking forward to coming to Page and checking it out. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great time.
Well, we're looking forward to having
it. It's awesome.
All
You won't
right.
be disappointed.
Yeah.
All right, Lee. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and maybe we'll catch you again before the convention on the program. We
Sure.
appreciate your time.
Thanks. See you in January.
All right. Yeah. Have a good night. All right, we're going to send Lee back to the green room there, and Phil, you've been quiet since you were late. You've been contrition for being late, and you've shown an appropriate amount of shame for being late. You want to take us through some of the other aspects that you normally take us through at this time?
Yes, I typically I'm known as a talkative fellow, but you have me off my game this evening. And like Wes put in the chat, I have another week of the school year to go, and so I'm like running on fumes, if you will, physically, emotionally, psychologically. Yeah. So not to make excuses, but I'm a little fuzzy right now mentally. So I apologize anywhere out the ether out there. Not my chipper self. But regardless, we are still here tonight, folks. This past week, we've not had a ton of news for you. Registrations, badge sales are still slowly rolling in for us. I would say at this point of the year, at a healthy clip, we still have folks grabbing 4-day badges, which is always a good sign. Event submissions again are still currently open. They are also slowly rolling in as we take a look at those, and the breadth and the depth of what an attendee is going to have available to them is really shaping up to be something special. So again, as always, we know the fact that Page is an RPG heavy convention. And so if RPGs is your thing and you want to come to a convention that really focuses on that, we're gonna give you something to really sink your teeth into when that event schedule is completely gone through and those events are scheduled actually on the calendar. So that's coming. Events are being approved. Scheduling is another matter. That we are handling that as well, and that'll be something that everyone will get their eyes on in the next 30 days, as gold badge holders will be able to begin scheduling or choosing their games. How are we on the hotel block, Ron? Is that completely gone now at this point?
The Hilton Garden Inn has like a couple of rooms available. That's it. The Hampton still has, about 10 rooms. And then we're going to end up, once they sell out, we're still going to have convention block rooms, but you'll be further out. You won't be within walking distance of the convention center at that point.
Well, right. One of the good things about the Page site is, of course, that it has a gigantic parking lot and parking is free. So even if people do have to, drive from some other hotel, it's not like they have to, pay for parking or worry they aren't going to get a spot.
Yes. Ample parking, the types of parking.
Ample free parking.
Free parking, correct, is available to attendees, so you will not be having to worry about things like having to find an overpriced parking garage in downtown Indianapolis for Gen Con or something like that, running out of parking on site at the Grand Geneva for Gary Con. These are all concerns for attendees of those conventions that you will not have to worry about coming to Page.
Now, last year we had a shuttle that ran from at least one of the hotels. Will we have any shuttles this year?
Yeah, there's a shuttle that'll be running between the Hampton, the Hilton Garden Inn, and the Convention Center on a regular interval.
Yes. Yep. And we are going to firm that up with the hotel to make sure that they understand our expectation.
It's already firmed up. They know the expectation.
There you go. They just have to follow through on that expectation.
I'm happy to announce that while our push for food trucks is probably going to fall a little short this year, though the door is open for Page 4 to have some food trucks outside, hopefully. We did win the battle over having certain snack vendors in the vendors area. So we should have a couple of vendors that are selling Japanese style snacks. And
Nice.
So we'll let you know more about that once we decide which ones we're going to select. But that's a done deal. I set that up with the exclusive catering company from the convention center. And listen, they were listening when I was talking about a possible arrangement with food trucks that I think I don't want to guarantee anything for this year. We've got so many things to handle. Just getting the additional snack vendors in there was important, but I think it's a real reality for 2027 there.
Okay, so tell me that there's going to be Philly cheesesteaks and chili.
Well, there's going to be there are cheesesteaks in there's a larger concession stand where we're at in the convention center this year, so they're going to have a larger array of food, and that's the other thing that we're talking about, and they're extremely open to. I said, hey, I want to be involved with the menu at from the convention stand. There's just the concessions there aren't well-rounded, and we need some more well-rounded stuff in those concessions. So that's what we're going to push for this year, and they're open to it. They're talking to us. They know, the caterer at the convention center and the convention center. They know we're the real deal at this point, where they just generally don't know when you first rent a place. But now that we've expanded into more space, and let's face it, money talks, and I've told them of some things I wasn't particularly happy with. I can tell you that they have renovated a couple of the bathrooms because the bathrooms were kind of crummy. They have renovated them. They put in new restroom stalls. They've new tile walls, the whole bit. So I'm pretty happy about that. And, I'm looking forward to what this year brings. I mean, it's going to be new for us this year because we have all these, breakout spaces, and, Ed, Phil, and I are going to be feeling our way along with feeling out the premises, just like, all the attendees will this year. So,
yep, I'm really excited.
What?
I got to tell you, I tried, at Page 2, I tried the Philly cheesesteak and I tried the chili, and it was really good. So I'm hoping to have some, next year.
Yeah. Well, and also one of the things in the new area that we're in, there were already some nicer restrooms, which is good. So we'll actually have more restrooms, not just renovated.
Yeah.
And we're going to have dedicated seminar rooms, one of which will be a streaming room. And so that means, rooms with doors where it can actually be quiet. Some of our seminars got very rowdy last year, which is great, but that meant, people couldn't hear each other. Yeah.
But would the doors be like just ajar a little bit so people will
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like they're invited in? Because
But I
I
mean,
was at
when you've got walls, even if you have the
Yes.
door open,
Yeah.
people, people will be able to, hear each other speak and everything
Yes.
like that. So,
Yeah, I was at a seminar at PAX and they shut the door. It was like 30 people in the seminar, and I'm like, I just wanted people to be able to feel like they could come in if they wanted to.
mhm.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have much of a problem with sound because none of these rooms are off of the main game hall or the main vendor hall. They're all like self-contained, in the lobby or in hallways off the lobby. So the answer is, yeah, I think those doors will just be open in general because there won't be a lot of ambient noise there.
Great.
Yeah, Jen, I know what you mean. A lot of conventions I go to, they're very strict about doors being closed once the panel or the seminar starts. Sometimes that's a concern regarding the fact that they're recording it or they're streaming it somewhere.
Mhm.
And they want to make sure that the audio quality is as good as it can be. And so I have noticed that, but yeah, that's not a total surprise to me when you see it at other conventions. But
Yeah,
I know, like
that
at GaryCon, they would close the door, but they would let people come and go. It was
sure,
just,
sure,
because you could you could walk in. There was
correct.
never a presumption that you're locked out.
No,
listen, we forge our own way at Page,
sure.
right? We've done things differently. So, we don't often look to other cons to see, what their policies are or what their procedures are. We don't often look at that, and I don't foresee us doing that here. It's going to be about the attendees' experience, and we take the feedback we get, seriously, and so that that's where we're gonna be. I hope that tornado didn't suck Ed up just now.
Yeah, I saw he dropped. There he is.
Sorry,
Ed
just got a little bit of a power flicker here.
Oh, I thought that's what we were just talking about. We thought maybe the tornado picked you up.
Actually, it's calmed down around here. It's just every once in a while, especially after a storm, we will get little power flickers, and that's what happened. And unfortunately, I don't have my laptop plugged into my my battery backup right now.
We got you. You didn't miss much. What you missed is I talk about how we kind of forge our own way. We don't we don't often seek to emulate other conventions. But real quick before we get into the nuts and bolts, I do want to wish all of our viewers that are going to be attending North Texas RPG Con next weekend, a lot of fun and natural 20s, and we wish that group who runs that convention the best of success. We of course get to share the best part of that group in Jenn Glazer. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're pretty happy to we're pretty happy that their convention is going to go off next week, and we wish them the best for it. Somebody suggested Ed turned into a pumpkin. That's in 12 minutes, Chet.
Well, hey, are we going to announce that guest or not?
Maybe it depends on how it's asked. Are we going to announce them or not? It's like I'm talking to my wife here. What's going on?
Inquiring minds want to know. Who are they?
We do not have a picture of this guest yet branded, but I'm so excited to announce this guest will be at Page 3. This is somebody we hope to have at Page 1, and she had to beg off due to some complications from long COVID, but we're going to have author Elaine Cunningham with us for page 3. And, I couldn't be happier about that. I met Elaine many years ago. She's a delightful person, and she's written some very important works, not only for TSR and WotC related to the Forgotten Realms, but she's also written quite a bit of Star Wars canon through her Star Wars novels. And, happy to have her in. She actually has a new project that she's working on, and looking forward to seeing her at page 3 and getting her involved in some seminars. And I think I can even convince her to lend her musical talents at some point throughout the convention, because she's quite the musician, for those who don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've got a number of people with Forgotten Realms chops who are going to be there, so we're going to get them together, hopefully.
I think it's safe to say we're going to see an Eric Boyd, Rich Baker, and Elaine Cunningham discussion about the Forgotten Realms. If I can twist Dale Donovan's arm into leaving his conclave, we'll get him out there, and maybe we'll do something specifically about the Harpers, because there's a few folks in that group who know quite a bit about the Harpers. They've either written source material about the Harpers or written novels about the Harpers. So
you're going to see him in a little over a month, right?
Well, yeah, we'll see. I really did twist his arm to join me as a guest at EggCon, and he agreed to do it, kicking and screaming, but he agreed to do it. And I'm going to be happy to see Dale. Dale's a good guy, and believe it or not, Dale has a lot to do with the early success we were able to have with Page and the special guests at page 1. I mean, he really did a lot related to that, and I appreciate everything he did. So.
All right. Well, we just heard Elaine Cunningham will be joining us, which, to Ron's point, is it's really good news. That's definitely going to be a bright spot. So we hope that folks are interested in having her come and join us, and hopefully we'll get her on a panel or two, and she can talk all about her writings and her novels and her contributions to the hobby, because they are extensive. And so that's really exciting stuff. All right.
Yeah, she's outstanding, and she and my wife have developed a bit of an email correspondence over the past few months. So I'm real happy, and of course we'll have Elaine sitting on our. We'll have Elaine sitting, as a key element on our authors panel as well.
Right. That's great. Yeah. All right. Folks in the chat, we were totally open to answering any questions that you might have at this point. We want to make sure that we're not a little too long here. We're getting there to roughly the time that we tend to kind of wind down. So if you haven't asked a question yet that you want an answer to, now's the time. But if not, we can, I guess, start to talk about next week's show and who we have on for that. Ron, who's going to join us next week?
Well, I know who's not joining us. It's Phil's week off next week. He's not going to be with us on the 13th.
Well, that's not next week.
That's the week after.
No, that's the 6th. Yeah, you're right. I'm messed up. The 6th is... That's a good question. I'm trying to remember who's on the 6th. I believe maybe... Let's take a look here. I'm drawing a blank. I
I'm-
know the guests are booked out through the end of June. I'm just
Yeah.
drawing a blank.
I'm
who's
looking
next
for the
week.
schedule. We're so prepared.
I'm scrolling back myself to try to remember who we have. Let's see. I don't know.
One thing we should mention is on Tuesday, we have a new
Oh, right.
stream,
Yes.
Board Games with Becca. We just had our first one last week, and she's basically going to talk about board games, particularly as they're related to Paige. But I believe she's going to be breaking out games and going over stuff. And I think Ron is going to be on next week. So I recommend.
Yes, I will be on last week. Yeah, I couldn't get on there, and you know, Bex does a lot with the convention, and you know, it's important that you know, everybody realizes all of her contributions, but she also curates the board game library for us, which is ever growing, which is, you know, just outstanding. So she does a good job, and she's going to be talking about board gaming and other things. And I believe next week on Friday Night Live is, hold on. Friday Night Live for 6/6. I can't believe I'm struggling so bad. Here it is. The guest for June 6th will be Mark Jaranek of the Order of the Owl.
Oh, great.
And Mike Saxton, the owner and designer at Thunderstruck Workshop. So Mark Jaranek and Mike Saxton, and then here I'll announce this now for 6/13. We're not going to have Phil on 6/13. So
Friday the 13th.
you know, Phil, you can sleep late. You can stay late that day, but on that day we have the illustrator Stan ! Which will be wonderful, and he'll also be joined by Matt Ballant, Palladium Books.
So Mark, by the way, we were talking about mugs earlier. He made this mug, and you know, very, very cool thing. He made them for some of the guests at a convention I was at this spring. And so, you know, maybe we could talk to him about mug making.
Yeah.
In addition to the Order of the Owl, of course.
I'm a big collector of mugs, so.
Well, this one features the original D&D Lizard Man artwork.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's very nice. Very, very good heft. You could really brain somebody with this.
My husband loves to play Lizard Men.
You should let him.
Oh, I do. I ran a game where he and his friend played Lizard Men.
Oh, I thought you said wants to play. Okay, so he loves to play Lizard Men. Cool.
Yes, he does.
Okay. Well, I am going to get out of here because, as Ron said, my cats are getting feisty and wanting to get fed. So I better go take care of them. It was nice talking to all you guys.
And, well, Phil, take us. Phil's having trouble keeping his eyes open, but will Phil take us through the rest of the program here?
Sure. Well, I don't have a ton actually that we have not yet already covered. So quite honestly, I think we've hit the end.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed hanging out with Jeff Dee and Lee Stanford and the four of us. And as is our tradition, we'll let Jenn take us to the close.
All right. Well, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful weekend and week ahead. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday. And as always, if you have the opportunity, check out my channel and subscribe if you can. And We will all see you next Friday night, same time, same place.